So we are RackN, and we are the data center whisperers. We make our customers' data centers act like they're on mind control. But it's not mind control. It's really us rethinking how the data center is built from the ground up, starting at the bare metal, the hardware layers of the infrastructure, and fixing things. Because we know that you've gotten used to servers that take hours to provision, when we think it should take minutes. We know that it takes days to get systems online because you have processes that require manual steps. And we know that your people are frustrated because the learning curve is very high to get these systems online, to make simple changes, to respond and react to new technologies like we're showcasing. And that means your teams are always underwater. Your operations teams can't get ahead of the curve. They can't innovate. They can't keep up. And that's a really serious problem. And the reason it's like this is because we make an assumption that we can buy some software, we can buy some hardware, and our operations team is just going to absorb that new technology into their systems. But the reality is very different. Those changes eat into our operations time. Every time we make a change, it requires us to take on more and more burden for the operations team. And that doesn't include fixes and patches and security and expansion and growth. All of those things create this cycle where the operations team is constantly falling behind. And we address that problem because we know you can't afford to wait. If your operations team is not keeping up, if they can't absorb the new technologies that we're showcasing here, then you're going to fall further and further behind the competition. And that's just not acceptable. So we wanted to do something for the showcase that really highlighted just how powerful this approach of rethinking the operations infrastructure is. That if we took something like Kubernetes, which is a very hot, new, shiny, containerized infrastructure, your operations teams are probably already trying to figure out how to make this work, that has a reputation for being very hard to do on premises on bare metal, and show you just how easy we can make it, it would help explain how the system works and how solving the underlay problem really helps you get to the heart of the operational dilemma. Greg, can you give us a tour of the Kubernetes?
Thanks, Rob. Kubernetes is just the tip of the iceberg. RackN's digital rebar provision product allows you to address the tip as well as all the parts underwater. So I'm going to start by booting up some machines. Make sure I type yes. And then I'm going to use the UX, or UI, to show you what's going on. The UI uses a RESTful API to get and set information. You can use that same API to programmatically drive your infrastructure. Now, as these machines boot, they'll pixie boot and start being discovered by digital rebar provision. As they do, they're assigned tasks to drive them through what we want them to become. Now, digital rebar provision is a simple, automated, zero-touch provisioning system. Now, workflows are how digital rebar provision manages what tasks should happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of these tasks. Get all my machines up. And so this is an example of one of the workflows. Workflows can do all sorts of things. They can configure, they can classify, discover inventory. You can do things like manage hardware, configure RAID subsystems, update BIOS, update flash, configure out-of-band management. Once the hardware is configured, you can install an OS. You can use an image-based system or use your traditional Kickstart pre-seed deployments. Once an OS is installed, tasks can be applied that update and customize the OS image, and then also then deploy your own applications. Now in this workflow, we're actually installing an OS, then installing Docker. Once that's installed, the system will install a key value store, elect a master. Once the master's elected, follow-on workers will be installed and added to the cluster, all without touching the system. Now, let's go see how our cluster is doing. So as we can see, we have some of the bottom making progress. As the cluster is being built, digital rebar provision gathers information about the cluster, and we can find out what's going on. So we can see that we're getting the masters are being accounted for. We're also adding workers to the system. We're also gathering security information so that you can then maintain security as you upgrade and move forward with the process, as well as their initial admin credentials to start and configure using the system. Now, our customers are using and building their own custom workflows within the first day. And then within the first week, using our plugin system and our content packages to build custom integrations to their existing infrastructure components. Things like Active Directory, Tower, Ansible Tower, Runbook, Remedy, Netbox, and much more. All right, it looks like our cluster's finished. So I need to run a CLI command to get the credentials loaded into the system. And then I can do... And so there's 4 of my 8 nodes already ready and ready to run containers. So that's Kubernetes in under 3 minutes. But digital rebar provision is more than that. With custom workflows, you can also do day 2 operations. Things like, I need to do hardware maintenance. That can be encoded in a workflow. The same thing with your OS upgrades, or even doing rolling updates to your own applications. And within the full lifecycle of your cluster or application, a decommissioning workflow can be used to repurpose those resources back to other systems. See, Rob, RackN and DRP allow you to break up that iceberg into reusable, manageable pieces.
Thank you, Greg. This is truly a change in how we think about innovation. This type of being able to break up the logjam of operations into simple, easy-to-use pieces is significant. And we do it in a way that lets you bring your own infrastructure. This isn't custom hardware. It's what you already have deployed. It's self-contained, so you can deploy it to thousands of edge sites. It works at scale, so you can use it in your core and run thousands of machines. But most importantly, it's easy to integrate, so your systems of record continue to work. We're not disrupting what you already have. We're making it easier to use the infrastructure you have in an automated way. And what we know is that this isn't just about the technology. It's about doing people and process work also, because all 3 things have to come together. What RackN is doing is fixing technology pieces in a way that your teams can use them, because that's very important. That means that your infrastructure and RackN software creates a 10x improvement. And we're not talking binary. This is a base 10 improvement. And that's important because we want you to stay ahead of the curve. We want you to be able to take these new amazing technologies from the showcase, from the floor, and put them into use. And to do that, you have to fix the operational problem. So you don't have to take our word for it. You can download the software yourself and try it. Some of your teams have already been doing that. And you're going to go home and say, how do I make all this great technology happen? RackN has the answer. We make it simple to use and absorb the technology. We'd love to talk to you at the showcase. We'd love to visit you online or have your teams just contact us, because we can help them become a data center whisperer too. Thank you.